Incredibly great news this Tuesday morning as more people come out in favor of Steve Mnuchin's great plan. Yesterday, I detailed the exceptionally great news in Steve Mnuchin's latest $1.8 trillion offer. More check money to you. More money if you're on SSDI, SSI, and Social Security if you're dependent. More money if you are an adult dependent. More money if you're a child. Hopes for a third stimulus check as well. More money for state and local. More money for FPUC. And guess what? Overnight, Democrats are slamming Nancy Pelosi, telling her to take the deal. The time is of the essence and saying now is the time for her to accept the $1.8 trillion offer. The heat is on, the coffee's brewing, and this is Mornings LALATE. Hey, good morning, everybody. This is a great morning here, Tuesday morning. Hope you're great and safe. It's a really exciting morning with great news across the board, and I have exciting big announcements for you as well. So I really appreciate you for tuning in. Go to the French channel, subscribe. We have reached 290,000 subscribers. Congratulations. With that, a major twist that's going to be coming to this channel. So the exciting news is coming up later in this video at the 10-minute mark, so stay tuned. Also, a like of this video. There's a lot of breaking news this morning. It's all really good, and it's very exciting. So I'm glad that you have joined me this morning. First, I'm going to go over why the Mnuchin deal is so great. And I have been detailing this since Sunday. It seems as though more people might be watching this video because overnight, the second item is Democrats. Democrats across the board are saying the same thing that the show has been saying here for the last 48 hours. It's a really good deal. Take the deal. The third thing that I'll be going over is what Democrats are now saying, which I said on last night's Evenings LALATE, is that if Nancy Pelosi doesn't take the deal, if she does not take the deal, what she's setting America up for is no stimulus until February or March in their hands. By then, the economy will have imploded, and everything that Democrats fight for will have been lost. Next, airlines being hit badly overnight in new economic data. Additionally, now, after that, AMC, the movie theater, could run out of cash by December. This is more for reasons why stimulus is needed right away. Going to go belly up if it doesn't get cash right away. J&J, Johnson & Johnson, major news overnight as it pauses its COVID-19 testing as to an irregularity exhibited in one of its testing patients. And finally, Pelosi has a new statement this morning about stimulus, and I will have that news for you as well. All right, let's get to the breaking news. Breaking news across the board this morning. And the breaking news is that the power of the purple, the power of this channel, the power of you have absolutely worked as more Democrats are coming out in favor of Mnuchin's plan over the weekend and saying, this is a really good deal. Why are we not accepting it? What the world's going on here? You gotta accept it. If you did not catch Evenings LALATE last night, I explained to you how good Steve Mnuchin's deal is, and let me explain it to you right now. First, if you're an individual, an adult, you will get a $1,200 check. And for the first time, Donald Trump's promise that he would give you a more generous check than the Democrats is actually true. And I'll explain to you why. Steve Mnuchin is going to give you, under this current plan, a $1,200 check if you're an adult. And if you're an adult dependent, someone else's tax return, if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, and railroad benefits, but are dependent on someone else's tax return, guess what? You're getting $1,200. For the first time ever, the White House is higher than Pelosi, and Pelosi's going the other direction, getting smaller. If you don't know what's going on, under first stimulus package, the CARES Act in March, you did not get a stimulus check because the Temple of Doom said, you know what, adult dependents don't need a stimulus check. So you didn't get one. Well, this time around, everyone has wanted to give you a stimulus check. But in the latest proposals, Nancy Pelosi only wants to give adult veterans who are on their sons' or daughters' tax returns a measly $500 after you didn't get a stimulus check the first time around. Does that sound very Democratic, platformish? No. Well, guess what the president is offering? $1,200, a full stimulus check. So repeat, all adults will get a full stimulus check of $1,200, despite whether they are adult dependent on someone else's tax return or not. Married couple, $2,400. Then it gets even better. Children. Children going hungry with Nancy Pelosi's bill is actually now the catchphrase. We should probably make a t-shirt. Vote for Nancy Pelosi, children going hungry, cheaper stimulus check. $500. $500. She's going down. She's going backwards. Well, guess where the president's going? He's going up. $1,000 now. $1,000 for children. This is a higher offer, a more generous offer than Nancy Pelosi. It doesn't stop there, the good news. The good news continues with FPUC. Steve Mnuchin's offer bigger than Nancy Pelosi in time frame. He's taking the deal into mid-January. $400 a week into mid-January. Now, Nancy Pelosi says $600 a week, which no one's going to agree to. That's just like that's like going to the casino and ordering cowhide leather. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to serve that to you. She's at $600 a week, and she's retroactive to September 5th. He's retroactive to September 12th, but he's now taking you into mid-January. This is incredibly great news. More money. More money. Now, had she accepted his deal of $400 per week offered in July 10 weeks ago, guess what? You would have had $4,000. She's cost you $4,000 there. She's cost you a stimulus check over the last couple of weeks. She's cost you a lot of money. Oh, she also took out housing pay. Let's not forget that. She cost you $10,000 there as well. So she keeps on costing people money by not getting you anything and waiting around. And now Democrats are firing back. Andrew Yang, Democratic nominee for president, said this is enough. Do the deal. Nancy, quote, Nancy Pelosi, take the deal. It's as simple as that. I love that. Just a few words. Nancy Pelosi, take the deal. Exclamation point. I left that part out. Exclamation point. And then he says another sentence, put politics aside, people are hurting. Amen. Amen. Another person overnight, Dan Pfeiffer, co-host of the left-leaning podcast Pod Save America. He says, while there are potential risks, Democrats should just aggressively pursue a COVID relief deal with Trump. It's the right thing to do. The politics can get work in our favor. He also called for accepting the Mnuchin offer. The question is, why has this sort of dragged on? Here's what Democrats are saying this morning. And this is an interesting twist, and this is not the first time you've heard it. I've been detailing in recent days. Nancy Pelosi's current scheme is that no stimulus agreement with the president, because if I do that, then the president will make it look like he won something and will use that for his re-election bid. Okay, I got that. Okay, so what's your plan, Nancy? My plan is to not do a deal until we have a Democratic Senate, and they will come in and will sit in their seats starting in January. They'll be sworn in January, and so they'll get to it in January. Okay, so then when would the actual bill be passed? Probably by February. Okay, February. Okay, when would people start getting money? Probably March. You know what's going to happen between now and March? The vast wasteland of America will be half gone. Metaphorically, not actual, literally. But there's news today as to why the stimulus can't wait a week, let alone to March. Airlines. Delta posted a $5.4 billion loss in another brutal quarter. This is one quarter. This is one quarter of a year. This is not the entire year. They lost $5.4 billion. And they're now warning that the recovery could take 2 years. Now, I know a lot of you are not happy about airlines. I'm not either. But this is an example of the situation. Well, do you like movies? Everyone loves a movie. How about AMC, the movie theater? They're now warning they're running out of cash, and they could be gone by the end of this year. Under Nancy Pelosi's deal, they'll get some stimulus relief in March next year. By March, they'll have been gone for 3 months. Nance, what are you doing? Johnson & Johnson, big news this morning. They said that there was an adverse event with one of their patients being tested for their COVID-19 vaccine, and as a result, they have paused testing that allow more data and safety monitoring boards to thoroughly investigate the unexplained illness, says CFO Joseph Walk. We're letting safety standard protocols follow proper procedures here, and they said that this is not uncommon. Sad news there. JP Morgan, the bank, actually beat analysts' reports. Now, what's interesting about this is what I detailed last night is that they beat it based upon the fact that they did not have a lot of bad loans. Bad loans appear to be really where the focus is on banks this week because the bad loans are coming from rent. Next, last night, Nancy Pelosi issued a new statement talking about stimulus. And guess what? She hasn't gotten to the point. She's still delusional as she's ever been delusional. Her 7-page, no, it's 3 pages. It's like 3.5 pages long. A 3.5-page long statement, which I'm going to go over on 28, coming up at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, has literally 0 numbers in it. You see, what she's not getting is that people from Democrats, Republicans, moderates, liberals, conservatives are now onto her game, which is never telling people numbers. Her game is to tell you stories. The American people want us to have an agreement to protect lives, livelihoods, and the life of the American democracy. Who wrote that sentence? Lives, livelihoods, and life. It was an illiterate Speaker of the House now. Lives, livelihoods, and life. In this, I don't know what this means. Another sentence says, it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I think she's doing the lyrics for the Cupid Shuffle in her new statements now. She says, it's shameful, and we need something urgent. The bottom line is that I want you to tune into 28 because we're going to have some fun. You know why we're going to have some fun? Because in that video, I'm going to go through what she did in this press statement, which is she turned to her, what did she call them? Chairs of committees of jurisdiction to go over each of the provisions. And I'll just give you a highlight of what I'm going to do in that video. She turns to Financial Services Chair Maxine Waters and says that at the moment, 14 million families are at risk of eviction and homelessness. So, you know what doesn't work with... I adore Maxine Waters. Disclaimer, I adore Maxine Waters. I'm not going to hide that. But Maxine, there's a problem. Well, at least Nancy using Maxine Waters' statement, which is she's probably using the wrong way. Here's the craziness of the statement. She said right now there's a risk of eviction and 14 million people face eviction. I agree. So under Nancy Pelosi's deal, you'll get the stimulus relief in March in your hand, and by then everyone will have been evicted. And the whole issue is a moot issue at that point because everyone will be homeless. And you can find them under the tent if Maxine Waters, if Pelosi wants to give you a check in March for something that happened, in September. The entire statement is premised upon the idea of the stimulus relief is being done now, when it's really not. Nancy Pelosi is teeing up to give you stimulus in March of next year. With that, here comes the breaking, exciting news. This channel is currently at 4 hours of programming. We have 1 hour in the morning with Mornings LALATE, then 28, and then 2 hours in the middle of the day at Afternoons LALATE. That's from 3:30 to 5:30, and 1 hour at night with Evenings LALATE. Well, we're going to have a major announcement with a new addition to the lineup. Yes, you're going to be very excited about this. So there's going to be a new addition to the lineup, and that will be announced on 28, coming up at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. Find out what that new edition is later this morning. So the great news this morning is that Steve Mnuchin's offer is really now being supported by a lot of groups. First, Democrats are now jumping ship and saying, hey, this is a great deal. Second, that report that a lot of Republicans in the Senate were infighting and not supporting the deal and saying, we won't approve it even when the Senate reopens in mid-October. Also untrue. White House fired back on those reports yesterday, said not true, that the Republicans are aligned and would support the $1.8 trillion deal. Third, the problem solvers, the Blue Dogs, the New Democrat coalition, while not as vocal as initially, have not vocalized any dissent to the $1.8 trillion deal. And now of course, the purple power is supporters of it as well. The question is, how soon could this be hatched? And could it be hatched in the next couple days? The Senate is closed, but this could be done on the eve of opening up the Senate, or the deal could be formalized for purposes of normality between Mnuchin and Pelosi in the next couple of days, so that when the Senate reopens, you could literally have a vote that day, and have the president sign it the next day. That's how quickly it could be done. Basically, they would be taking a revised version of the House bill on the day the Senate reopens, putting it for a vote. This is the revised version that potentially Pelosi and Mnuchin would agree to, put it to a vote, and then having it passed, and then have the president sign it either later that day or the next day, and then the checks go out within 10 days thereafter. It would be a very, very tight time frame, but ultimately you might get the checks on around when you're about to vote in person or shortly thereafter. This is incredibly great news. A lot of twists and turns. I told you it's a very fluid situation. Let me get to some of your 1,800 questions and comments from yesterday. Armadellin. April, May, June, July, August, September. The Americans have not received the aid they need by our Congress and POTUS. Very well said. You're entitled to multiple stimulus checks, and what's different here is that the Temple of Doom took out that provision that would have given you a stimulus check in the month of April, May, June. Took it out, said we'll get to it later. Now, as we sit here in October, she's not giving you multiple stimulus checks. She's giving salary raises to federal agencies. Steve Mnuchin has always said he would give you multiple stimulus checks, but one at a time, not in the same bill, which, you can say whether that's a good or bad thing. And the problem solvers, they do give you multiple stimulus checks, one now and one in March. Lisa, why is the president playing games with the Democrats? Charles Blackford, President Trump needs to do a moment of clarity and do the executive orders. Amen. Dorilo, we need just more than words. We need action, immediate action. Lisa, does President Trump have anything to say when he's not? Why does President Trump have anything to say? Why is he not passing the stimulus? Yesterday I detailed great news as well, that the president will be ramping up his campaign stops and doing 2 to 3 campaign stops per day now, right away. Ultimately, he loves to make executive order announcements at those campaign stops. So yesterday, a couple of you tweeted, based upon what millions of you watched on this channel, where I gave you the two individuals, the campaign manager and the senior advisor, that you need to now tweet urging for those executive orders. If you have not seen them, jump on the Twitter. I think one of them was Jason Miller and one of them was Cipher. I forgot how to spell his last name. James Parley. Nancy's not going to accept anything unless she gets the money she wants. Kathy, the Temple of Doom would never accept anything. Kem offers no results. Catherine, they're wasting time with negotiations. Sonia, America could face an easy takeover. Callie, Nancy needs to stop playing games. Linda, President Trump, please do the executive orders for our stimulus. Trina, the president is doing this because he's trying to see if he can win the election, and it's sad you got people with no money, no place to stay, and bills behind and taking their time on the stimulus. Christine Bell, this sounds good and all, but that $1,200 is definitely not enough for us. We should be getting 3 times that amount. I'm sorry, but I'm still not having any faith in our government anymore. Christina, I have a lot of Christines and Christinas on one channel this morning. All this time, everyone's saying they don't need Nancy. Well, then make a change. Lisa, the Temple of Doom is trying to sabotage Trump. She'll never agree to it. Why doesn't Trump do a stimulus executive order? What's important to understand is that last comment's great, but I also want to address one of her remarks, which is Nancy's trying to sabotage Trump. Democrats now understand that Nancy inherently is going to sabotage Joe Biden. Why? Because if Joe Biden's elected, if the Senate goes Democrat, then you're going to do a stimulus package where people get money starting in March. Let me give you some clarity, because I don't say this on a regular basis. The effect of giving stimulus into the economy has different time frames. Certainly, if you get a check in your hands in March, you got the check. But when we're talking about other stimulus that goes into businesses, that goes into unemployment, that goes into bailouts, that effect doesn't hit the economy until 6 months later. So she wants to give a stimulus relief to you in March of next year so that you'll feel the impact of it by 6 months later, middle summer next year. I got to tell you, America will be wiped out by that. It's just metaphorically. I mean, it's just insane. It's going to hurt Joe Biden. It's not going to hurt anyone. So ultimately, her strategy is a faulty strategy because it doesn't help Trump. It doesn't help Biden. It doesn't help anyone. All it helps is saying, I got nothing. Congratulations. I won by giving nothing. That's not a win. That's a loss across the board. But we understand how things are, and we're going to get through it, and we're going to stay positive, we're going to stay motivated and focused. Drop your comments below. I love to feature them in tomorrow's recording. Also, send me DMs of your cats and dogs. I'd love to see them as well. If you do send me a picture of your cat and dog, or last night I got some parrots as well, and your birds. If you send me pictures of your pets, indicate it in the DM if I can use it on broadcast, if I can use it in these recordings. Just say, yes, you can use this image in your recordings, and so I'd love to feature your pets in upcoming recordings. Go to the Friends channel, subscribe because we're the best community that keeping you informed, keeping you motivated, and keep you strong. And thank you for bringing us to 290. Next stop, 300,000. And like this video. Coming up at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time is 28 with a big announcement from this channel. You'll be very excited. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay in LA for more.